Yeah. All right, folks, welcome back to the Fontana podcast. This is the first one of the new year, and I thought I'd kick it off in style with no other than the man himself, Mr. Chris O'Hare. How you doing, mate? How you keeping?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad. You know, the UK's just had a little bit of a Mike Tyson punch to the chest there. Today is the 5th of January, and on the 4th, we just get a little announcement. Boris and Nicola was giving us the good news all the time, that the UK is back into a little bit of a more stricter lockdown. And I think a lot of people are mentally hanging on by a thread, and maybe yesterday just maybe tipped them over the edge. But I think that your story and what's happened to you this year is going to be something that I think a lot of listeners can listen to, they can take from and give them that inspiration, that motivation to, keep fighting even when the cards are stacked against us. How's the family? How are you keeping over in the States?
Good. Family's doing really well. We're kind of not nearly locked down as strictly as the UK. The US kind of working on a state by state basis. So the kids are at school at the moment, which is nice to get a bit of peace and quiet. And my wife worked from home pre-COVID anyway, so thankfully wasn't too much of a change for us, other than the external pressures, but it wasn't too much of a change internally in our household, which made it a wee bit easier for us to kind of deal with.
Yeah, and how's Ronan and Riley? Are they up to mischief, causing trouble as usual?
They are indeed. They are as mental as ever.
Brilliant. And this podcast is we spoke about previously your successes, your triumphs, also that you had a few struggles, but I believe that maybe this one today that we're going to talk about is maybe the biggest one that you're climbing at the moment. In November, I didn't even know. I don't think you shared it you kept it quite close to family and close to home. You've just recently went through some hip surgery in November. Was it in November time?
December. I got November. You're right. You know better than me. Got the surgery in November. Yeah.
Social media stalking. Always have to get those facts in to make sure I don't sound silly on camera. But this, you were saying off the podcast that this is one of your biggest and most major injuries that you've had in your career. Take us through. Has this been a long time coming? Was this quite abrupt in terms of this happened quickly in a training session, or has this been a niggling recurring injury through some seasons? How did this sort of manifest itself?
Yeah, ultimately I think so for a bit of a kind of background on it, what I had repaired was a tear in my labrum in my hip, a piece of cartilage inside the hip, and when it tears, it kind of destabilizes the joint. So all the muscles around the hip have to work extra hard to support the hip. And then when you kind of add in running as a profession, it only makes things more difficult. I think I've had a small tear, kind of looking back with the hindsight of now knowing what it was. I think it's been an issue, a very small tear for probably about 2 years. Going all the way back to 2018, in the summer of 2018, I was having some hip issues. It was like kind of muscular, it's probably your lower back. And so we treated a lot of the musculature that was feeling the stress from the destabilized hip. And just with the kind of natural progression of how the year goes, with less mileage, more recovery time, I see the physios more often in the summer when I'm back in Europe and stuff like that. And then time off, and then, time off here and there with niggles that were now with hindsight, we know that it was because of my hip. That we kind of managed to get through. We managed to get through all of 2019. I had a an issue that stemmed from the hip in the summer of 2019, which didn't help my case any when it came to trying to make the team for Doha, which, you know, that was that injury kind of held me out for close to 2 months in the build up to the summer of 2019. But then we took the time off and we came back, and in 2020 started off really well with Melrose and stuff like that. So yeah, it's weird because you can still run, but then the rest of the day it hurts all the time. And you do enough kind of activation and you do enough rolling out and stretching and stuff to go run, and it's okay. You take some ibuprofen and it's all right.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the day it hurts, and that's kind of been my routine for the last couple of years, is that it's kind of just sore all the time.
Yeah.
And then probably in about May, June of 2020 was when I was like, this is really getting sore now, actually. And we were like, well, you know, we were treating all the kind of musculature around the area, trying to take care of that. But I mean, we were in a lockdown situation here as well, not quite strict, like I say, but I was at the track by myself, nobody else there, and I was halfway through a session and I was like, I actually can't even bend down to take my spikes off, and I tie my spikes so tight that you can't just like slip them off.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of lying on the turf on the infield of the track, trying to find a position that I can untie my right shoe, because and I'm thinking, do I have a knife in the car? Do I have scissors or something in the car that I can literally cut the shoe off with? Because I can't like get it off. And called my PT and said, like, I'm coming in like right now. Can somebody please see me? Because I don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. And you can, if there's manual tests for the labrum, and they were like, it's labrum, we'll go and get an MRI. So got an MRI a couple of days later, and it was a relatively small tear, a tear that was small enough that we decided on just doing rehab, not getting the surgery right away. Yeah. And so we committed to like 3 months of rehab, which was a tough commitment at first, because you're like, well, 3 months, like 3 months of rehab, and you're like, right, okay. So I did it. Like, it cost me a bloody fortune, like, and got on with it. Yeah. And then we started to build back up when the running on the Alter G treadmill and everything like that. And we started at like 70% body weight, 75, 80, 85, 90. And we got to running for about 20 minutes or so without any, at full body weight. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, oh no, it's getting sore.
Yeah.
And it was we'd just done 3 months of rehab. And within like 3 weeks of building the running back up, and I was still only running at like 10-minute mile pace, all the symptoms just flooded back. And I was like, okay, we have to get the surgery now. And obviously in hindsight, you're like, why did I not just get the surgery 3 months ago? But, you know, with the doctors, the PTs, my coach, everybody was kind of like, look, we can most likely rehab this. There is the potential that you can't, and you'll need to get the surgery. But if you get the surgery now, you're committing to being out for a pretty long period of time. So let's try it. Yeah. And so, yeah, we tried it, and then it didn't work, yeah. Which is tough to handle, but you're just going to get on with it. We got the surgery scheduled and insurance sorted out and stuff like that to pay for most of it. And
flight to Mexico, get a flight to Mexico, get your hip repaired there and fly back, and it would still be a tenth of the price.
Right. You might only come back with one leg though. So we went to, yeah, right. We lost your leg, but here's a bottle. Take it back. Be all right. And we went to Dr. Philippon in Vail in Colorado at the Steadman at the Steadman Clinic, which is kind of the best place to go. Yeah, and it's gone really well. The surgery went really well, apparently, and it's gone well so far. I'm not on crutches anymore. I'm kind of fine to move around, and we were just doing some squats and deadlifts and some kind of basic functional movement at the PT today. And I can tie my shoes without any pain, which is nice because I haven't been able to tie my shoes without any pain for quite some time. So, yeah, that's a bonus.
Mate, like that is unbelievable. Like, so you're trying to tell me you beat the Ingebrigtsens with one hip?
Well, one
Phenomenal.
of them.
One of them. That's it. One of them with one hip. So, like, I'm guessing, you know, it's. I think I genuinely believe like it's an athlete's DNA. It's our prerogative to absolutely exhaust every avenue. Like, so say, like, one of the things that I can relate to is, say, Achilles tendinitis.
Yeah.
And it's that, you know, it's sore, it looks puffy, your sock looks as if it's baking bread, but you get it warm, like you're limping around, and then you go for a mile or two, and then it starts to ease off, and then you go, right, I can do this session.
Right.
And then the next day, it starts to get a little bit sore for a little bit longer. Right, but you can soldier on, and it's almost like if we go into like a guillotine, and it's just this, and it just gets tighter and tight until you actually need to go, you need to tap and go, right, I have tried and tried to wriggle and wriggle as much as I could with all the resources I have around me, but you know, it's starting to creak now. I can't even get out of bed without, you know, you can even tie your like, I mean, that's a red flag right there. You're lying
Right.
on the side, you know, a European silver medalist lying on his side, like looking around, thinking you need a knife or scissors to cut. You're going, right, you have took it to the point where, you know, it's, you need to tap and you need to go through another process. But that, you're a fighter, you know, as we learned that in the other podcast. Whenever you feel pain, whether it's lactic acid, whether it's adversity, whether it's, you know, a non-selection for something, or not getting the position that you wanted or the time that you wanted, you look at that and go like, come get me, you know, and I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna, like, I'll show you. And, you know, and sometimes that's got you everything, but sometimes it can also, for other athletes, it's maybe also taken away a lot of stuff from them. But you've just got that grit and that determination that you're always going to fight through that pain barrier, which is, you know, it's that gift and curse. But how long, so when you've had the surgery, you decided to take 3 months off to do your rehab as well. How long have you now had off, you know, running?
So I haven't ran like a week of running, like a full week of running since the middle of August, I would say.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I did run on it for too long.
Yeah.
But that was the thing. I could run on it, and if I was running well, I could run on it. It wasn't until you kind of took an off step or you stepped on an acorn or something like that, and you're like, oh yeah, and it would, you know, it was debilitatingly painful because effectively your nerves are going, if you don't stop this, your hip's going to fall out. Your leg's going to fall out of your hip if you don't stop doing what you're doing. But I could do it. I could do what I want. I could do my job. It was just sore for the rest of the day. So I was living my life in pain for a couple of hours out of the day where I could get done what I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in really good shape doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was too much. And yeah, like you say, I had to tap out. It's kind of the age old saying where you if you put a frog into boiling water, it'll jump out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put it in cold water and bring the water to a boil, it'll cook. It'll stay there because it doesn't have the nervous reaction to jump out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we fall off our bike and break your leg, you're like, yeah, well, cool, yeah, I'm obviously hurt, I'm injured.
Yeah.
Take the time off.
Surgery, yeah.
But we're too froggy and we get stuck in we get stuck in the pot of water.
Hashtag don't be too froggy.
Yeah.
And was this a, you know, did you sit down, was this a cumulative decision between yourself, your coach, your family, or, you know, were you very much, you know, at the forefront, this just needs to get done? Or were you kind of in a disillusion where then some people had to talk you around? How did it all come about? Be like, right, let's have this major operation?
Yeah, at first I was like, do you know what? It's kind of my mentality, my attitude is like, just take the leap and get it done and have it over with, and then start the rebuilding process.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, at first I was kind of just like, well, let's just get the surgery now.
Before that,
but then everybody kind of
rehab.
What was that? That was before as soon as we got the MRI, the first MRI, I was like, if it's torn, let's get the surgery. But people with more knowledge than me were like, well, you know, it's not that bad of a tear. Let's see how the rehab goes. Let's give it a try, because there's a good chance that we make it out without needing the surgery at all. At least for for 2 or 3 years they're done running, and then you can get it done, and it's not actually that important if it works that well. It's, you know, as long as you can live the rest of your life and do what you want to do, it's fine, but you're not going to put it through the major stress of being a professional athlete. But then after almost 3 months of doing it, and we were kind of on track, things were going well, it was all very positive. And it was responding well. But then one day I was running on the Ultra G treadmill at the PT's office, and I stopped and I was like, I need surgery.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. And I called Terence and I said, I have to get the surgery. And he was like, okay. Because now at that point they know, like, we've done all we can do. And if he's telling me he needs a surgery, then let's get the surgery. And then it was about probably another month or two until we got the logistics of it all figured out, that we actually ended up getting the surgery. But yeah, it was a kind of a joint effort all around to make sure that I was doing the best thing for it. And I'm still confident. Obviously, in hindsight, I would have loved to have had the surgery at the start, and I would have already been back running by now, probably.
Yeah.
But hindsight's 2020. It's perfect, isn't it? So we can't actually do that. And I'm pretty confident that we did the right thing in the first place, which is good, because I don't have any demons about it.
Good. I was going to ask, like, are you a little bit, because I know that some athletes will like to almost on a lack of accountability thing, and, you know, maybe pie off their frustrations and why they're not where they're at this moment in time, maybe because of so and so, and I listen to you and I listen to him or her or whoever it may be. But you're very sure, and, like, just, you know, it is what it is. You made the choices, and you take, you know, full responsibility and that accountability on yourself and own that situation. And that's a really refreshing thing to hear. You know, I don't think a lot of people would be in that sort of strong-minded mindset.
Right. I think if you're gonna pie off the responsibility, then they've just not really considered the whole situation. Absolutely, I could say, oh, my coach, he shouldn't have had me doing those sessions. My PT should have had me in for surgery the first day I told him, you can't read an MRI, you can't do this, you can't do that. I could have said that. However, which would be pretty much false anyway, because I'm like I say, I'm confident that my team around me is good and that they're doing the right things for me.
Yeah.
But I know I personally know athletes who've done that in the past.
Yeah.
And they've got demons inside their own mind, and it's easier to throw it onto someone else. However, if I had told if I told my coach exactly how sore things were all the time, instead of convincing myself that it's not that bad, I can do that. Like I'd look at the training and go, yeah, I can do that. And I'm not telling, and I after the session, I'm like, yeah, my hip was all right. It was a bit sore. Like by the time I got finished with the session, it was fine. But then I don't tell him how bloody sore it is for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like that's on me. That's not on him because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
If I had told my PT at the start, like everything that I had done to cause the problem in the first place, they would have been like, okay, well, you know, it's still on me because I've effectively, whether knowingly at the time or not, or whether I was trying to convince myself by lying, you're not telling the truth about how sore it is, how frequently it's sore, and where it's sore. Because yeah, you are, as athletes, we're trying to convince ourselves, we're in a constant state of trying to convince ourselves that we can do this, we can do that, and we're better than we actually are.
Yeah.
But those things get us to where we are. So without those, you'd be Rogered. But yeah, it's kind of a catch-22.
And see like after the surgery, was it the left hip or the right hip that was done?
Right hip.
Was it excruciating afterwards? Like, did you know, when you had a lot of discomfort and pain afterwards, or how did it?
Yes, but no more than I expected. To potentially give you more information than you need. Like getting the catheter out was the sorest part.
You got a catheter?
Yeah, well, I was in traction for 2 hours, where your leg is out of your hip for 2 hours. I was under for probably 3 hours.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be peeing on anyone.
No,
yeah, it was kind of, it was obviously, it was very sore, but actually what's sore is the fact that you're in traction. That's the sore part, is that they've dislocated your hip to do the repair. And so like, yeah, it feels like you've just dislocated your hip. You're in a machine for all night. You're in this machine, CPM, a continuous passive motion machine that bends you at the knee and kind of lifts your leg. Or bends your leg. It'd almost be like doing a heel drag up and down. So that your hip moves, and you're in it for 8 to 10 hours a day. So you're in it all night. You sleep in this machine all night, and you sleep with the DVT compression sleeves things. They're like a miniature version of a Normatec, pretty much. So you don't get a blood clot. And then when you're not in the CPM, you're in velcroed in these boots so that your feet don't fall externally. Your feet don't like rotate out and tear the labrum again. For a month after the surgery, and then a month after the surgery, you have to deal with all that stuff. So being comfortable enough to sleep is actually the hard part, because your legs being constantly moved by this machine. But the pain was really sore, but actually I'd been so used to my hip always being sore anyway that it wasn't that much of a change. Now the only difference was I was on heavy pain medication, so I felt better. But yeah, after I kind of sacked off the pain meds about 7 days in, and then sacked off the ibuprofen about 10 days in, and just dealt with the pain because I didn't like not feeling anything at all. I preferred for it to be sore so that I could not do anything that would make it sore, than dull that pain to the point where you end up thinking you're Superman and end up hurting yourself. So, but it was, surgery actually wasn't that bad. The whole thing wasn't that bad.
And see, this machine. So you went back home with this machine then, it was doing it for you and all that. Say, Meredith would just see your leg just moving up and down the sheet the whole time.
We had to put
and the covers and stuff like that. With that, taking the covers away.
We had to leave the covers off that leg and put like another blanket on it so that it wouldn't move the whole entire duvet with it.
Oh man. So if it's not that, it might be like an altitude generator,
I
like
know.
than that, or the things that we do to make sure that we can just get out the door and be at optimal health and be the best athlete we can possibly be. Like our wives must be looking up to the sky going, mate, what have you done to me here? Like I didn't ask for this life. But
Yeah.
but I think like, people, it's one of those ones where I think also it's for your husband or your wife, whoever it may be, that's pushing these boundaries and willing to do all these things to better themselves, and through an act of running or through an act of sport, that discipline, commitment, determination, focus and drive, like I think that those are also very sort of alluring and like attractive traits as well. So I think like, even though athletes may be a pain in the backside, but the fact that we're trying to push boundaries every time, I think it also, the person beside you, it lifts them up at the same time, and also shows, that, especially at the time when the legs going up and down, like how bad you want it. Because I think sometimes in athletic, like we don't really, I think the other person, if they're not an athlete, might not understand how bad. Like they know you want it bad, but there's times where, maybe Caroline saw me cry or whatever and just been like, I I don't know if I can keep doing this to myself anymore, whatever. And that's, at these points, like this surgery, you've went through little ups and downs, peaks and troughs, but, getting something as major as this, and then, going through the device, like just understanding, how bad this human being wants this, and not just wants it for himself, but also wants it for his family, for his kids. It's like, I think when you get to these points, I think the external person understands, like, just like, this is your, like, no surrender sort of thing. Has
Yeah.
there been those conversations where Meredith's been, just where I'm like, how can you, like, you've this, like, something that you love so much, is this has happened to you and you're still willing to keep fighting? Like, is she proud of you for, being able to do this, go through this and still maintain composure and focus?
Yeah, I hope so. No, I think what to use the word proud. I think I'm more proud of myself in carrying those traits, and I think what's more important is carrying those traits over from that you've kind of steeled yourself in those traits as part of your identity for a runner or for an athlete for so long that that you carry those into being a husband, and then you carry them into being a father of one, and then you carry them into being a father of two. It's not. I've learned a lot from running, and if I don't use it in something that's more important than running, then like it's a waste.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's like useless, but it would be a waste of what I had learned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, last time we spoke about my experience in Berlin at the European Championships, and that even with this, dealing with the psychological, the mental health issues that the sports brought me are much worse than the physical damages that I've done to my body. A lot of the time they go hand in hand, because when you damage your body, you can't do what you want to do. When you damage your body, the mind is going to, race, and you don't get to do what you love. So your mind is racing. And unfortunately for me, with my family, it's like, well, what I love is my family, and what I do and what I love to do is running.
Yeah.
And without running, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
You can't say that about your family.
Yeah.
Or you can, but you wouldn't be a very good person. I'm sure people have said that before, but that's not me. It's so yeah, I think I think for Meredith and I, it's about finding the balance, and she's helped me find that balance for the last, I actually don't even know how long we've been together. We've been married for 5 years, but I don't know how long we've been before that. But yeah, I think that's the more important thing, and the more, I would say, since dealing with the trouble that I went through around Berlin, is the way that I changed my mindset is not tying my identity into being a runner.
Right.
Like, who I am is husband to Meredith and father to Ronan Riley, not a runner and also those things, which I think there's, sports and athletes have shown us time and time again that athletes struggle to do that.
Yeah.
They leave their families because all they see, they resent their families because they saw their families as holding them back from achieving their sport. But that's just selfish, if you ask me.
Mate, that is like, that is very like, I'll absolutely love that. Like, I want people to rewind this podcast right now and go back and listen to that last 30 seconds there. What you like, and I think when we're kids, we fall victim to that. But as we get older, we do need to mature as, adults and human beings, and understand that, there's a lot of books out there that do say, the sort of self-identity crisis of when, I'm watching a lot of the Last Chance U on Netflix.
Right.
And when those kids get hurt, those kids get injured, they now want to, they don't want to get their GPA to go into D1 or D2 or, whatever because if football's taken away from them, then what's the point in even living or bettering yourself in another avenue? Because that's all they care about. And, maybe some of them have left their spouse or their other half, in 5 hours away across America to come and do this thing, which is, I don't disagree that, sometimes you need to do these small sacrifices to, maybe move up another level. But as long as you're using it in a healthier approach and not like thinking, well, after this, then I'm going to leave them to then go, to another place, like make them a part. Like if they loved you enough to let you leave the whatever state you're in, but then take them with. But you just see a lot of this. You see a lot of in sport, that just this toxic where we don't understand who we are. We're just a runner, or we're an athlete, or we're a UFC fighter, we're an NFL player. Like, no, you're Chris O'Hare, I'm Sean Fontana, and that's who you are. And then what you do with the person that you are is another thing. So like that was actually, because there's sometimes, I will not lie, like me and Caroline have get into arguments where I've maybe, I say like, oh, you don't support me enough or whatever, and all these things. And then she'll be like, what you say, like, I moved to America for you to go to Colorado. And then, when you were training up for Valencia, you slept in that altitude tent next to me, or else if I didn't, we'd be sleeping in separate beds because maybe the generator would be too loud. And then you sit back and you go, this is where the accountability comes in, where you need to stop pointing the finger, like, oh, I'm not here because of this, I'm not here because of that, or them, or him or her. It's like, sometimes you're not there because of numero uno, or that you do need to look at and go, actually, that, maybe the way I think is so toxic that, I do need to take a wee check to myself. And also, like what you just said, sometimes when you're injured and you're hurt, I'll say to Caroline, I'll guilt trip her into, because my posterior tibialis is sore, so loosening off the calves and loosening off the soleus and the Achilles because of lockdown and things. You can't get a massage or any of these. Right. I'm like, oh, come on, you're supposed to support me. Like, give me a massage. Come on, like, please. Like, it's like, shut, like, stop asking for stuff. And I'm going, but if you really love me and you really support me, you would do it. So, when you think about it, I do as an athlete, I do ask a lot from Caroline. And during Christmas there, because 2020 has been tough, not just like sort of in athletic sense, but also in a business sense, like self-employed, like gyms are shut and stuff. I've been probably getting a bit snappy because I'm losing money, being injured. So I've even got it here just now, but she bought me a Nintendo Switch. I don't know, did you used to play this in the N64, Zelda?
I didn't know.
No?
No, I never actually had an N64.
No, so I thought, oh, this is a kid's game, but see, since I feel a lot more chilled. I'm not like, everything I do is always towards, it's an intense process to better myself. If I'm not reading a book that's like, say, Ant Middleton, First Man In, or Atomic Habits by James Clear, or watching Last Chance U, or watching a YouTube document, it's always, how do I become better? And there's a time for that, but see, when you're just constantly living in that, it's just a bit like my brain just, I'm never, ever satisfied. And one of the guys I had on, Josh, he gave me a little check as well, like talking about, when are you ever going to be satisfied? And you've done a lot of things that a lot of people haven't. Yeah, you've not done a lot of things that other people have, but you're never actually happy. Like, you've never been happy with anything. And actually, since I've got like that, I know it sounds really simple and like silly, but since I've had this like small wee like Nintendo Switch, I'm not trying to promote it or anything here, but it's actually, I get tired. I just lie in bed and just chill and play the game, and it's helped me just understand that maybe, just maybe, sometimes that sort of, that want can also be that double-edged knife sword that's kind of been sabotaging what I've been trying to work towards. Even though it's, like you were saying, running has, since we've been kids, we are little terrors. We'd love to, pranksters, every time, everywhere, no matter what, no matter when, no matter who. We just love to just wind people up and just cause shit. We just like to do. But I feel that you as a person you grew up, like you've grown up to be, a husband, a father, whereas I think I still, and I don't want to, there's these people that you meet in America that always talk about the highlight years in college, college being their best years, and they're always living in the past and stuff. And you're like, come on, mate, like that was 10 years ago, that was 15, that's 20. And sometimes I'm like, if I don't, just open my eyes, sometimes I could be one of those. So, and that's credit to you. Like I always say to Caroline, like I would love to have that same mindset as Chris O'Hare has, because on your Instagram, on your social media, it's family based as well. Like, yeah, you've got your running in there, but you've just got this balanced outlook in life, which is really cool. And this is where I like, being a dad, being a husband, like, where you're chatting off the podcast about you spending a lot of time doing your rehab, doing your exercises, doing your PT. As a father, as a husband, as an athlete, where do you find the time to fit all them into your day? How do you have that structure? How do you have that focus? Like, how do you do that in your 24 hours?
Yes, sometimes not very well, and I think that is an important note to add before I can get into that. I'll try not to lose my train of thought because I'm good at that. So check me if I do. With social media, I mean, we know this. We know it's toxic. It's horrible. The world would ultimately probably be a better place without social media. When I post stuff on Instagram, what you don't see is me sitting with my arm cricked through the bars of Riley's cot, having to hold his hand, and me being like so frustrated that I want to go and do something else other than be sitting here for an hour holding this boy's hand who has too much energy to go to sleep. And me getting like viscerally angry at a 1.5-year-old for wanting to hold my hand.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. People will hear that and go, what? But it's because you like you say, we're in this kind of, you get high strung, you're running around doing everything. Like last night yesterday I had to go and pick Ronan up from school, and then we came back from school, and then we had a bit of time Ronan wants to play outside. Riley wants to play outside. They want to run in completely different directions. Meredith's still got work to finish. So I'm outside with both of them. Still can't really move very quickly. And then it's like time, okay, we need to rush back in and get ready for swimming. And then we take them both to swimming lessons. And then and we come back and we've got to make tea and then get a bath and get them up to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, for Riley, he's just like, well, why? Well, I just want to hold your hand. This is not an unreasonable thing to do. But I'm stressed out and I've got other things that I need to do. Like there's other things in the house that need doing. Ronan still needs to get ready for bed, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, nobody sees that on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not doing an Instagram story about how raging I am because my son won't go to sleep, you know? Like, and that's just I use that as an example because it's the littlest thing that can get you riled up that you never see on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Nobody ever sees it because, well, who wants to post that? Yeah. But yeah, you see, I've totally lost my train of thought now because I told you it happened.
Well, because I think that's where, like, you know, when you're holding your boy's hand for an hour and a half, you're thinking that's probably time where you can do your rehab. That's where time you could do your running. That's a precious time now within that sort of window when you get up in the morning to when you go to sleep. Like, you need that time to get everybody else set so then you can go and take care of yourself. And I think that a lot of parents, if they're not self-aware that if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. They get lost in that process of always taking care of their kids and their wife or their husband, that, you know, they never get any time to themselves where they, you know, as a personal trainer, as a coach, you hear the excuse of, you know, oh, I can't train tonight because of my kids, or I can't come on an online Zoom class because of the kids. And I think, like, you know, it's a viable excuse when you put the kids in front of something. It's like, look, that is the most precious thing in your world. Completely understand. But it comes to a point where you also want to show them a life that, you know, don't use your kids as an excuse, and show them that exercise is also another thing that you can have in your life to help, you know, cope with these stresses of life. And when you're injured, I guess when, you know, that running's been taken away from you for a while, that maybe little things were maybe getting to you a little bit more as well. You know, whereas running's your get out, you know, running's your stress relief. You can go on the bike, you can go swimming, you can play tennis, you can do whatever. But for runners, running is just the thing that you go out, put your headphones in. If you put your headphones in, if you don't, you don't. And you just go out there and you come back and bombs can be flying and you're just like, done.
Yeah.
Right. I've done it. I've taken care of me. What do you all need to get done? I'll get it now. I'm all good. But sometimes when you're in that madness and, you know, Riley's there reaching for your hand and you've not taken care of yourself yet, then I think that's when I know, because mental health is a massive thing just now, that exercise and taking care of yourself, a bit of self-care, is a big important thing just now. So I don't know if it was leading across those lines where you still need to go out and get stuff that you need to get done, but the little man's just there like, Dad, just on another hour. And you're the dad and the athlete getting pulled like Stretch Armstrong. You're like, come on, because it's 8 o'clock and I've not even done my run yet, and I'm going to be up till 10. And then when I'm up till 10 and I need to get my dinner, I'm not going to be at bed till 12, and I need to get back up at 5 o'clock for your ass. You're going to wake me back up at 5. So I've only got 5 hours sleep. And that's when I guess that's where maybe the frustration and sometimes the anger will come in.
Yeah, it is kind of you know, because you always think, you know, or I think, I'm like, it sure was easier in college when all you had to do was run and go to class for a couple of hours a day. But I think the most important thing to remember, and I say this as somebody who often doesn't remember it, which is an important thing to know. Like, this is advice that I have to use myself because I don't do it all the time, is that, yeah, you're right. It's kind of taking note of what actually happens in a day. If I didn't have time to do what I wanted to do today, why not? These were the reasons. Okay. So what did I do? Did I sit on my phone for half an hour when I didn't actually achieve anything? Yeah, I did. Okay, well, tomorrow I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, then give another couple of days, because you probably will anyway. But, you know, when it comes to, you know, people saying, you know, for people like clients, for you being like, you know, I can't because my kids are like, I've got 3 kids at home and my wife's at work, blah, blah, right. Those are excellent excuses to not do a session. And it's like, okay, that's an excellent excuse not to do a Zoom call with Sean, but do I have time for a 15-minute quick kind of jump around quick session to do something?
Yeah.
That's going to make me more likely to do it, to actually do my session with Sean tomorrow. Because habits are easy. It's forming the habit that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of making sure that you take note of what's holding you back so that you can address it.
Yeah.
And not being discouraged if you don't address it in the next 24 hours.
Yeah. And how do you know, how do you, is there any sort of, because a lot of people may also use, say like they use the kids and stuff. How do you and Meredith form that, you know, that perfect teamwork to allow, you know, I guess also she would like to do some exercise. Like I think you spoke before where the both of you got up at 5 and she would do she'd do like a YouTube class or an online class, and then you'd take care of the kids. You'd tag in, she would take the kids, and then you'd go out and get what you needed to get done. You know, these are you guys seem like a team. Whereas that's what I try, you know, if it's a single parent, then right, there's another, you know, there's another intensity to that.
Yeah.
But when it's husband and wife or partner and partner that are a team, how do you guys, you know, I might have just gave the answer away, but how do you guys cope, you know, having 2 kids, for your wife to have time and then also for you to have time to also, you know, train and get your rehab work done, or else if it's your running, getting your running done?
Yeah, I think a team is a good example, because when you have kids, you do get to be a team, a family. I mean, a family or team or whatever word you want to use, but a team's a good example because there's always people on a team that require more than they give, like children.
Yeah.
You know, and so you just have to step up and get on with it. We are kind of the co-captains of the team. We have to communicate well with each other, which we don't always do.
That's life.
And well, yeah, right. I just want to make sure that people don't think that either people don't think that we are perfect, or people don't think that I think we're perfect. But yeah, I mean, Meredith last night, my game plan in my head this last night was I had PT this morning at 9 o'clock. My game plan was to get up at 5:45, 6 o'clock, and go to the gym for a few hours to get my session done before going to PT. Because it's easier for me to do it before PT than going after.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to come up with an excuse.
Yeah.
For a rational reason in my head. It's an excuse to everyone else, but in my head, it's a rational reason to not do it, to not go to the gym. And then we were brushing our teeth, and Meredith said to me, "Can you, when Riley wakes us up in the morning, we've got an alarm clock called Riley, and he normally wakes up somewhere between 5:30 and 6. This morning he woke up earlier than that, but whatever." She was like, "When Riley wakes us up, can we both get up and so I can do my session?" And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, no, because I'm going to the gym, because I've already planned that I'm going to the gym. That's on the books. But then I'm thinking, and I'm glad that I'm honestly, probably because I had my toothbrush in my mouth, I didn't speak sooner. I'm thinking, because I was about to be like, well, no, because I'm going to the gym, and I fall kind of, I'm guilty of this. I think what I need to do, especially when it comes to running, is more important than what she needs to do, which is not.
Honestly, hands up there.
right. And everybody does it because she thinks what she's doing is more important. For what, like when she's working, doing her job that brings a paycheck into the house, she's thinking, well, this is more important than you doing whatever you need to do. And yeah, like I say, I had my toothbrush in my mouth, which probably saved us an argument. um,
Well,
and,
no.
and I said, yeah, it's fine. We'll do that. And I wasn't like, fine, whatever. Like, yeah, that'll be fine. Like, I'll do it. Like, I wanted to make sure that she didn't feel bad about doing her workout, because why should she? And then when this is up, I'll go into the gym, and then either if I've got the time, I'll go and pick the boys up, or if I'm still going to be at the gym, then I'll explain to her that I was going to work out before PT, but I didn't get the chance to. So then she'll be like, okay, well, I'll go and get the boys, and I'll work another hour after they go to bed, kind of thing.
Yeah, like I mean that. I guess I've got all this to look forward to, you know. So I'll need to make sure that I don't have that, like, sort of the same excuses that, you know, a lot of, you know, people have. You know, I've just got a wee kid called Simba, who's a little furry friend, and you know, so I guess I don't have like, I don't have the relatableness yet, but I hope that I can still stick to those, like, the strong, you know, by whatever means necessary, still trying to get out and getting the run done, or a training session done. And, you know, like, you know, you also know that you posted a few times in your story that you also run in the treadmill while your kids are round about you watching TV and things like that. There's all these, you know, that's an expensive thing to do if you've got the space, but, you know, when there's it's almost like when there's a will, there's a way, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, you speak about the PT and the rehab, and I think this is I'd love how long do you right now after your surgery, how long are you spending doing your rehab work just now?
Collectively throughout the day, in terms of kind of like doing the movements, about 4 hours, and then it's kind of being on the power dot, the complex type thing, for collectively for probably about another hour. Ice baths, hot baths, kind of those taking care of your body kind of things, which I don't really record in terms of time, because I just fit those in when I can. But yeah, it's kind of in terms of kind of concrete stuff, probably 4 to 5 hours a day.
And when you're talking about the complex, like the power dots and things, is there anything, you know, like, I know there's like Theragun out there, there's, you know, there's cupping, there's acupuncture, is there anything that you feel that you respond best to as an athlete with those sort of modalities?
Yeah, I respond quite well to dry needling and cupping. But I mean, I use my hypervolt gun almost every day, and was using it. I was having to charge it pretty much every night because I was using it that much before the surgery, or while I was still trying to run before kind of shutting it down for rehab. So yeah, I mean, I kind of use as much as I can. You know, I don't think there's much. There's not much better than a good old fashioned hands-on manual therapy. But the therapeutic modalities like cupping and dry needling work for me really pretty well. And then we've been using the power dot mostly on the glutes too, and the quads on my right, on the surgical side, to try and keep some strength, keep some muscle mass there, because you know, you're non-weight bearing for 5 to 6 weeks. So yeah, you get pretty, I mean, I when I stand side on, it's a bit better now, but about 2 weeks ago when I stood in front of their side on in front of the mirror, you could see my left butt cheek past my right butt cheek because it had shrunk so much. It was like a deflated balloon, and it's not like I had a big arse in the first place.
That is brilliant. And like, also, like, I saw you posted the other week on, I sound like an absolute social stalker, but it's just I just honestly, like, I just try and pick up, like, you know, I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but basically just said, like, do what good athletes do. and you put up on social about, you know, you're sponsored by Xendurance, and you put up the Joint 4 supplement and the Omegas plus the Vit D as your sort of, I guess that's your sort of help, your wellness pack that you're using to try and sort of strengthen the body, decrease inflammation and stuff. Is, you know, what sort of, I mean, the whole range is awesome, but is that your sort of go-to when you're injured or to prevent injury?
It's my go-to all the time, really.
Yeah.
I'll kind of preface this by saying, and I've never, my whole career, wanted to promote a company that I wasn't actually using. You know, I've had opportunities that would benefit me financially in the past to push a product or be sponsored by a product that I didn't like.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'm talking to my agent, and he's like, well, you know, you don't have to use it. I'm like, well, if I'm not using it, I'm not promoting it. Like, and which is a much more common thing than you might think with professional athletes. You'd be surprised at how many people are using or not using products that they're pushing simply for financial gain, which is fine because, you know, people need to pay their bills, but at the same time, that's just not me. And so Xendurance has been, you know, I was using them before I started working with them, and they're great. It's a great company. Their products are kind of tested firsthand by the employees, which says a lot, because if they know exactly what's in it and where it's been, and if they're taking it, then, well, that's a good sign. But yeah, the kind of joint health and the omegas, and the vitamin D and stuff are that, and the immune boost supplement are my daily morning and night. And then I pretty much use protein every day, and the creatine as well, which will catch some people by surprise because I'm 140 pounds soaking wet. But I use the creatine.
What's the idea behind that? What's the idea behind the creatine then?
Well, first, there's kind of a misconception behind creatine because it was such a poor product for such a long time.
Right.
The creatine that Xendurance use is very good, and it doesn't just bulk on water weight. You do need to consume more water when you're using creatine, but I never puff up. I never like I'm not gaining weight by it. I'm using it to make sure that I'm maintaining muscle instead of losing muscle when I'm not training properly. And then I use it on gym days just to solidify the effects of the protein to make sure that the muscles are being built properly, versus not using it when it's a clean, informed sport product. That you're like, well, if it doesn't disagree with me, which it doesn't, and I think that's again the misconception with creatine is that it's for bodybuilders trying to get swollen. But it's not actually the case. Incredibly lean people use it on a daily basis.
Like, I mean, even there's a lot of research, like a lot of forums and things will say about like Tour de France cyclists. They'll use creatine because it's literally just a form. If we took away the stigma of the word creatine and we just made it as ATP,
right?
What the energy? It's just an energy source. It's just another basically thing that our bodies use as a source of energy, whether that be, you know, like a power lifter, bodybuilder, endurance runner, sprinter, Tour de France athlete, track cycling athlete. And then, like, I think there's another misconception is if you do get that sort of like that cheap sort of protein blends, then you like, I can remember back in the day as a teenager having the creatine, and like, honestly, I mean, if my farts aren't bad now, like, geez, like your belly would feel like you just get like gas bubbles in it when you're running. You're just like, oh my God. So yeah, like, no, I fully agree with, you know, just every, maybe like once or twice a week, just a wee scoop of that into the hydro. I'll knock it back and it tastes decent. But no, and then what about, do you, I think they've got that collagen one. Do you like that, or are you into that one as well, like for the sort of like the tendons and
Yeah.
ligaments and things? Do you use that as well?
I pretty much don't. I pretty much only use it paired with the protein, or don't use protein without it. Whenever I take a scoop of protein, I'm always a scoop of creatine as well. Collagen and greens as well. And yeah, it's I know people that drink it straight by itself, but it's not for me. But it adds a good, with the protein, like with the vanilla or the chocolate protein, it actually makes the protein taste better as well, I think.
It's got that like I've let Caroline drink it a few times, and she's like, I think it's got like a licorice, she said, aniseed aftertaste on it. But then when you throw it in with the vanilla, like it's absolutely spot on. But no, like I believe you're right. You know, you need to be taking stuff that one is informed sport choice. And the reason I got into this subject, it was because somebody who listens to the podcast was wondering, you know, what protein do you take? You know, what supplements do you take to stay injury free? What supplements do you take to help, you know, like sort of keep you robust as an athlete? And, you know, for yourself, it's Xendurance that you're having, and myself as well. So hopefully that answers a little bit of a question for people who, you know, post training, you know, the protein, keeping injury free, get the joint 4 and the omegas. And I think that's, at the end of the day, like even if you were injured or not injured, it's one of those ones where just trying to, whether it's Xendurance, or, you know, whether it's like trying to use something that helps decrease your inflammation in your body, because day to day now we're in so much, you know, we're in a high stress environment these days, you know, with the phone binging, you know, people wanting their time. We're in a high stress environment, whether it's, you know, you've got your kids, you've got a wife, you know, your social media, all this noise. Our adrenals are constantly turning over now, higher than what they used to. So trying to get things to just calm the inflammation and the basically the adrenals down is going to help you hopefully perform to a better level and stay injury free. I find that sometimes you get injured, you're doing the same things over and over again. You feel like you're being a good athlete, and then all of a sudden a little injury will derail you. But it might not be to what you were doing physically. It might have been down to the psychosocial factor of maybe another stress being added to your life that mentally you've just not been able to cope with, because your cortisol levels are just a little bit too high. And then all of a sudden something creeps in and you're maybe running a bit tighter, you're running a bit more rigid, or you're pushing a little bit more. And, you know, it's trying to get those things to help. But, you know, what works for you, what works for me, won't work for everybody. But it's just us trying to share that knowledge to help people just become the best version of themselves, become their best version of an athlete they can be. But do you watch UFC? Do you watch?
Not intently, no. I'll watch it when it's kind of a big fight.
Because what's your so you're I guess you're Dustin Poirier, and this will be a good way to finish the podcast up. Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor. I hate that I'm not in American time anymore, because I used to watch all those UFC fights back when I was in America, and it used to be on at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. I'm just not getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning to watch it. I don't care how good you are, but I'm just not getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Who's your prediction?
That's a good point. I don't watch it enough to actually know enough to make a prediction. I like Conor McGregor. I don't like everything that he does outside of the ring, but I think he's the way in which he rose to success, and the way in which he's stayed successful. And I just like his kind of attitude inside the fight world. Everything else outside of that, he's made questionable decisions at best. But as a fighter, I enjoy watching him fight. I enjoy watching his training videos and stuff like that. So, I would probably go with Conor.
Brilliant, good man. That's what I would say as well. I've got a canvas back there with basically Rocky Balboa, Conor McGregor. who I've got a lion, like saying about like something about the storm, and then I've got Mo Farah up there as well. So like three athletes that I've Rocky Balboa, but like a person that I admire that fuels the fire, like something Rocky Balboa. Watch them. I love watching Conor videos on YouTube as well. That's what gets me through that bloody spin bike over there when I'm injured.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just I guess watching greatness. I know that like if you're not like into the UFC and stuff, like totally watching it, but yeah, like I can't wait. Like I'm absolutely gutted that you'll be able to watch it at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night.
I won't be. I'll be in bed.
You'll be in bed.
I'll watch it on YouTube in the morning.
Yeah, that's it. And usually, more often than not, you're all excited, you're all hyped. I've got my coffee in the morning, ready to watch the highlights, and Conor just goes bang, and you go, "I've took 2 sips of coffee, mate. What have you done?" I've set myself up for this. I've my phone on flight mode. My phone's on flight mode. I shut my eyes as I'm going to get to the YouTube on the computer and type and I'll go to Caroline, right, you type that in and click the highlights, click that one. So I can't see like somebody being raised, the post octagon review, and then all of a sudden I've got my coffee there, bang, mate, 2 sips of coffee, and then I'm out for my Sunday long run.
Yeah, we were in San Diego in January of last year, and when he fought Cowboy, and we were at the bar like 2 hours before it, and talking about it for ages, and then he just battered him with his shoulder, and that was it.
There we go. See you later. No, it's like no, it's just like I'm totally with you there. Like whatever he does in the ring, his interviews, the way he holds himself, the way he talks, like I love it because, and I think from the UK aspect, I think we love humility. We love that's why I feel that people like Lionel Messi over Cristiano Ronaldo, Roger Federer over somebody like Rafa Nadal. That passion, that, you know, the positivity that goes on to, you know, arrogance and confidence and stuff. Like a lot of people, I don't really like that, because I think Conor said something really cool himself. He said people only mirror their beliefs onto you. So if they're not that type of person, they don't want to be seen that mirrored onto them. They don't like that. And like everything, you know, and I watch those things. I don't know about yourself, like during tough times, during my injury, during being on that bike and thinking, like, fuck this, man, like another 60 minutes on the bike, like my quads are killing me. And you watch one of the videos and it just felt like you go, I can fucking do it. I can get this done. Like, yes, like this whole, like his aura of just like, you can get what you want, but you just got to put in that time. Like, I don't know, when you're cross training, I don't know, what's your sort of go-to YouTube videos? Anybody that's injured out there? I'm Conor McGregor, UFC. I just watched Dustin Poirier versus Mark Hooker. That fight was unreal. 2 guys came out with eyes that you couldn't even see and stuff. That was awesome. I used a sort of UFC motivational videos for my cross training when I'm injured. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think that, like, I mean, there's so many of these like motivational videos where they've got speeches from people and stuff like that, and I love those. I mean, some of them are quite cheesy and corny, but they're great. I think the people that find them cheesy and corny are the ones who just don't quite understand what actually they're intended to achieve. Somewhat destined to be average folk, but I do like the kind of motivational stuff. You know, you'll go, this might be a bit sadistic, but I go back and watch races that I'm not happy with. Like races where I'm getting pumped, I'll go back and watch them to, you know, that kind of gives me the motivation to try and not let it happen again. But everybody's different.
That's it. Like, mate, honestly, again, this has probably been, I always say, Chris, we'll just go for 60 minutes and that is it. But we love, like, I love chatting to you. I love you sharing your time with me. I hope also the listeners as well have enjoyed this experience of Chris talking about his, you know, this is something that's been major in your athletic career that you're going to overcome, and I mean, I don't even need to ask you, but your goal is 2021. You want to be on that Tokyo start line, no matter what, no matter when, no matter how. Hip, no hip, you'll take that leg off, you'll hit somebody with it. Like,
Yeah.
that's where you want to be, 2021.
Yeah.
Mate, absolutely spot on. So again, listeners, please tune into this. This has been very motivational. Also, not just for elite athletes, not just for club runners, but for mums and dads who are just looking to get out there, get in shape, that have got kids. I know it's you can use them as an excuse, but try your best, like Chris was saying, to where there's times, dead times in the day, to not use your phone, put it to the side. That's not serving you in a positive way. Do something that does serve you in a positive way. And hopefully it can get you out of this sort of funk, this lockdown funk that we're all in, and grow mentally, physically, and spiritually as a person. But thank you so much for your time, Chris.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.